Breaking news: a significant update has just come from the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, and it affects millions of pensioners across England and Wales. While many were expecting financial relief this winter in the form of the much-needed winter fuel payment, the DWP has now officially confirmed that for specific groups of people will not receive the £300 payment even if they meet the general age and income requirements. This reversal, following the earlier decision by Chancellor Rachel Reeves to reinstate the winter fuel payment for 9 million older citizens, has created a wave of concern and confusion among those who believed they were automatically eligible. So, if you or someone you know is depending on this support to manage heating costs during the colder months, it's essential you understand these new eligibility rules in full. The winter fuel payment is a long-standing benefit designed to support older residents in managing increased heating expenses during the coldest part of the year. The payment typically ranges between £200 and £300, depending on a person's circumstances. For the upcoming winter season covering 2025 to 2026, eligibility primarily hinges on two factors: age and taxable income. Specifically, individuals must be born on or before 22 September 1959 and have a taxable income below £35,000 to qualify. If you meet these conditions, the DWP will send out letters during October or November confirming your entitlement and specifying the amount you'll receive. However, what many may not realize is that eligibility isn't just about age and income. The DWP has identified for groups of people who will not be entitled to receive the payment, regardless of whether they fit the general profile. These exclusions are not based on a lack of need but rather stem from specific living situations and legal conditions, and they could leave thousands without crucial winter support. Let's break down these for excluded groups so you can be absolutely clear on who is affected. First, if you are living outside of England and Wales, you will not be eligible for the winter fuel payment. This rule applies even if you were born in the UK, meet the age requirement, and fall within the income bracket. The DWP has decided to restrict payments to those physically residing in England and Wales, meaning pensioners who have retired abroad, including in places like Scotland or Northern Ireland, are not covered. Secondly, those who were hospitalized for an entire week during the qualifying period will also miss out. Specifically, if you were receiving free treatment in hospital between 15 and 21 September 2025, and the same condition applied in the previous year during that same week, you are automatically disqualified. The reasoning is that extended free NHS treatment during this exact window disqualifies you from receiving the winter fuel payment, possibly due to assumptions about reduced living expenses, but for many, this feels like a harsh and unfair exclusion, especially for the most vulnerable. Third, and perhaps more controversial, is the exclusion for those who are subject to immigration controls. If your visa or leave to remain in the UK explicitly states that you cannot claim public funds, you are not eligible for the winter fuel payment regardless of age, financial status, or health. This reflects a wider government policy around benefit entitlement and immigration status, but it could affect thousands of older migrants who have made the UK their home and contributed to society over the years. The fourth and final category involves individuals who were in prison during the qualifying week, again, 15 to 21 September 2025. If you were incarcerated for the full duration of that week, you will not be entitled to receive the winter fuel support. This is in line with broader benefit regulations that generally exclude prisoners from claiming public assistance during their sentence. Now, there's an additional layer of restriction that applies specifically to people living in care homes. If you're in a care home, you might still be eligible, but only under certain conditions. You will not qualify for the payment if two things are both true: you've been living in a care home continuously since 23 June 2025 or earlier, and you also receive means-tested benefits such as universal credit, pension credit, income support, income-based job seekers allowance, JSA, or income-related employment and support allowance, ESA. If both of these conditions apply, unfortunately, you'll be excluded from receiving the winter fuel payment, which may come as an unpleasant surprise for those in care facilities relying on every bit of financial help they can get. But the story doesn't end there. Even if you do qualify based on age, residence, and legal status, your income still plays a vital role. If your taxable income exceeds £35,000, HM Revenue and Customs, HMRC, will effectively reclaim your winter fuel payment. This won't necessarily mean you'll have to pay it back immediately, but it will impact your tax. There are two main ways they'll do this, either by adjusting your tax code for the 2026 to 2027 tax year, which will reduce your take-home pay over time, or by adding the full amount to your self-assessment tax return for 2025 to 2026. So if you're a pensioner with modest savings or income slightly over the threshold, you could be in for a tax surprise. And just as people brace for tighter finances this winter, there's more pressure coming from another direction: the energy price cap. Ofgem, the UK's energy regulator, has announced that from 1 October 2025, the energy price cap will increase by 2%. While that may sound small on paper, it's yet another financial squeeze on households already dealing with rising living costs. For the average household in England, Scotland, or Wales, this translates to an increase of about £2.93 per month, which means your energy bills could jump from £100 to just over £102 monthly. Over the course of a year, that adds up. Ofgem stated that the typical household paying by direct debit for gas and electricity will now face an annual energy bill of £1,755. While this is still significantly lower by around £625 compared to the worst of the energy crisis in early 2023, it's not exactly a reason to celebrate. That previous spike was so severe that the government had to implement the energy price guarantee just to stop costs from spiraling completely out of control. And now, even with prices settling, the direction is creeping upward again. Ofgem has pointed out that part of this increase is due to higher network and policy costs. These costs are what allow energy companies to invest in infrastructure and transition to greener energy, but ultimately, the extra burden falls on the consumer's shoulders. This is the broader picture pensioners and low-income households now face. A restricted winter fuel payment, creeping energy bills, and tightening eligibility rules, all at a time when many are already cutting back on essentials. While the government has taken some steps to provide targeted relief, it's clear that a growing number of people will slip through the cracks, especially those in care homes, long-term hospital patients, and those just over the income threshold. So what can you do? First, check your eligibility carefully. Don't assume you'll receive the winter fuel payment just because you got it last year. Look at your circumstances, especially your income, living arrangements, and visa status. Second, keep an eye out for that letter from the DWP this October or November. It's the official confirmation of how much you'll receive, if anything. And finally, consider speaking to a benefits advisor if you're unsure. A short conversation could prevent a costly misunderstanding. These changes aren't just about numbers on a page, they directly affect people's ability to stay warm, healthy, and safe during the coldest months of the year. The winter fuel payment was designed to be a lifeline, not a puzzle. So if this video helped clarify where you stand or opened your eyes to changes you weren't aware of, make sure you share it with someone who might benefit too. And if you want to stay one step ahead of every important update from the DWP, energy watchdogs, and government policies that affect your pocket, don't just leave it to chance. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. This channel brings you real news, without the fluff updates that matter when they matter most. Don't wait for your next bill to find out what's changed. Stay informed, stay prepared, and as always, thanks for watching.